If budgeting hasn't worked for you, it's probably not your discipline. It's the way budgeting was taught. Let me show you what finally changed everything for me. For years, I thought budgeting had to be perfect. I'm talking my spreadsheet entries, my app entries, and most of the time, something just didn't work out with the budget. Not because I didn't try, it's just because the way budgets were taught, it wasn't for real life, it wasn't for a real paycheck, and it wasn't for real issues when they come up, right? Because most budgets start with restriction instead of structure. They tell you what not to do, and it really doesn't tell you how money moves and how money works, right? Once I flipped that around, everything changed for me. My money leak stopped. I really started to take more control. I had better decision making when it counted, and then the budget really finally stuck once I started this. So in this video, I'm going to break down the exact budgeting structure I use step by step so you can build a budget that works for you finally. And that third step, stay tuned for it. It can either kill the budget or really can allow you to take control of your budget once and for all. For those that are new, welcome to the channel. This is Dexter. On this channel, we cover strategies, tactics, and tools to help you get better at managing your money so you can achieve your financial goals quicker. Let's get into it. Before we go any further, I want to say this. If budgeting hasn't worked for you, you're not alone, and it's not that you're bad with money. It's really that most people fail at budgeting because they're handed a system that assumes perfection. It assumes predictable expenses and zero surprises. And we know that's false. That's just not real life, right? So real life is really irregular bills. Real life is random expenses, emotional spending at times. But the regular budget would say, no, you can't have any of that. So when that occurs, we think we fail because the budget all of a sudden is upside down a little bit, right? And then we just give up on budget. So one of the biggest shifts for me to overcome this is thinking about the variable expenses side of the budget. For me, it was really understanding, hey, it's not about that, it's about clarity. So once I was able to get over that, then I started to see some positive traction in the budgeting. So for now, the way I look at it, don't look at categories. I look at a 3-pillar system, really. I look at the first pillar, you got to cover your bases. That's your obligations. The second one, non-negotiable, is making sure we have a way to protect any issues when any issues arise. So this is right, call it cash flow protection, mini savings. And then thirdly, we're just assigning everything else direction. So we're directing everything else. And this is where some people really could get hung up on the old way. But what you're in control here, and we're going to walk all the way through that. So here, we're going to walk through these here for the next few minutes, walk through starting with pillar number 1. And from an obligation standpoint, we're starting with the roofing, right? The structure. That's that rent or that mortgage, where we're going to live. That's the very first thing that we're going to have, obligation. As part of that, you think through what's really some of those essential expenses, utilities, think about food, think about transportation, so gas, any type of debts, the minimum payments on it, car payments, etc., credit card payments, all the minimums there. So all of those are essential to us. So some of it from a grocery standpoint may change, may be a little variable throughout the year. You may think about utilities being variable. All of that's really just, we're going to take our best estimate there. So what I want you to do now is really, you can take out a sheet of paper, find an app, or what have you. You can pause the video, but let's really identify our obligated expenses. Now, I've got a blank budget template for you down in the description area that you can download for free, that you can work with it there if you don't have a budget, right? So what I want you to do is just identify that. And when you're identifying the amount for that budget, for that line item, for that category, we're not trying to be perfect with it. Meaning we're not trying to identify the minimum amount. So, you know, from a grocery standpoint, if you spend $500 this month, and normally you're spending $650, we're not putting $500 in that line item, right? That could have been because we went on a week vacation, and that's why we weren't buying grocery that week. So put down what you know the average is, or slightly. You may want to make an adjustment for that, thinking about inflation. So if you say, hey, normally I spend $700 a month, that was 2025. Now I'm here in a new year. I know inflation is going to impact us at some point. I may want to make that $725 or make a tweak there, right? So just think about that from an essential standpoint within your budget, because this one step here and the way you approach it will allow you to see if you have any room or flex in your budget moving forward for step number 2 and 3, right? So once we've identified our obligations, what we're obligated to have there, next we're going to go over into, okay, how are we going to prevent any, when Murphy's Law creep up, what are we going to do? We're going to create a cash buffer here. And this is our mini emergency savings, right? This is, call it from 500 to 1,500. We're not looking at thousands here. We're not looking at a fully funded emergency fund. We're just looking at something to capture any irregular spending and or, hey, car issues, a kid come up with a surprise for the school, that you need, a trip you weren't planning, all that type of stuff. Any irregular type of expenditures here, we want to capture, have some type of savings to capture these. Because any one of them is not an emergency, right? It's just part of our daily living, weekly living. But if not planned for appropriately, it could cause some angst within our budget. So we want to think of a number that we can put in and save per paycheck, what that number is. If that's 50 per paycheck, more than that, whatever you think you can save to get to that number that you're going to have there for your minimum savings target. Now, key thing here to remember, once we get to that minimum savings target, you can reallocate that from your budget to other areas. And namely, we'll reallocate that to area pillar number 3. Pillar number 3 is really where we go after, if you think about giving our money some direction for the remaining expenditures or bills. So in this area here, this is where we think about non-obligated spending here, but we're going to plan it, right? So it's just not going to happen. This is where most budgets kind of quietly die because technically people hate them. People hate thinking, hey, I've got some restriction here, I can't go out to eat. Well, we're not doing that here with this budget approach. What we're saying is you identify what you want to do for these categories. So let's pick it. If we're talking about going out to eat, you may say, hey, I want to go out once a week. Let's put that in. We budget in that. And we're going to feel good about our budget. We're not going to have a restricted budget that makes us feel bad, because guess what? That's typically when we fall off the wagon, when something's restricted. And we started feeling it, or our partner starts feeling it. Ain't someone that didn't agree with us doing it from the start, right? It's like, I told you that wouldn't work. Well, that's why we're taking all this in consideration. I'm talking years of me working through this myself to really come up with these numbers that really let you know that this is flexible here. Meaning you may want to put something in one area this month. Next month, you want to say, okay, we want to aggressively go after some of this debt now, because this is where that accelerated debt payoff number is housed as well. So this is in this bucket too. Also, if you want to have any type of savings, call it for a summer vacation, we're going to put this, or anything fun related is right here in this area. Typically, you don't have a fun related area in your budget. Well, we've created that in pillar number 3. Right. So now we've got all 3 areas covered. We've got the obligation covered in pillar number 1. We've got our mini savings covered where we're going in pillar number 2. And then we've got our fun, call it the fun area in pillar number 3. So this is the way we're going to approach our budgeting here. And hopefully you can find yourself adopting this process moving forward. There again, I've got a template down here free that you can download here that you can use for budgeting. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone that could use a budget reset. Until the next video.